r/datingoverthirty. Sunshine Thing 9893 says, is it true that men will move mountains for the woman they care about or love? I've dated men who show deep care and love for me, thankfully, but I don't think I've met the person who will move mountains to be with me, care for me, and love me. And when I say move mountains, what I've heard is that men will do anything to be with the woman they want to be with, regardless of any potential barriers, and once they are with them, they'll continually make great efforts to keep the relationship happy if they want to. I'm not suggesting that this is the case for all men, nor am I suggesting that it's a one-size-fits-all thing. I'm specifically asking for experiences, thoughts, and stories that support this either being true or not true for you. Share your experiences, thoughts, and stories. Love all the responses. Can't respond to all, but it's been really enlightening, and hopefully will be for others too. A few notes to add more context to my position. 1. I want to clarify that I'm not referring to moving mountains in a toxic way. I'm simply curious about instances of consistent care, commitment, effort, and love being present despite potential challenges or barriers that life naturally presents, not challenges or barriers created by one person in the relationship as some are suggesting. 2. I 100% believe this care, commitment, effort, and love should be reciprocal within a long-term relationship, but with this question, in particularly focusing on the male perspective. 3. I'm not suggesting that people will always have to move mountains for each other in a relationship. Again, this question is simply focused on understanding if this is true or not for you, and why or why not. 4. Moving mountains for your partner does not mean doing anything for them at the expense of yourself. Please refer back to point 1. Various ad 4726 says, there was a time in my youth when I would have and sometimes did. In the long run it didn't weigh in my favor in the mind of my partner. Now it's one of my biggest regrets. I should have never sacrificed my dreams for this. You're insane says, yep, throughout my 20s and even early 30s I had some serious LTRs that there was literally nothing that I wouldn't do for them. I was constantly bending over backwards to please them and show how much they meant to me. Now I'm almost 40. Single. Never married, no kids. I don't have much to show for it. Other than the memories of being cheated on while I was deployed to the Middle East, or after years of being together and financially supporting them. Just discarded like I was a piece of trash for a guy they had just met. They would always come back, and I'd stupidly give them another chance. Only for the cycle to repeat again. It really hurts, putting in all that effort. Just to be heartbroken and disappointed. Repeatedly. I just recently started dipping my toes back into dating, after over a year of being single. I'm still a kind and generous person. But I'm done being a doormat and my tolerance for bullshit is a lot lower. Insensitive conch right square bracket 30 says, you have your freedom, priceless. Craptastic Ally says, I dated a man right before the pandemic who really went above and beyond for me. He's one of those good men that seem so mythical. But the tragedy is realizing that even if you met that man, there's still a risk he's not the one. I'm child free. The pandemic sparked an existential crisis in my boyfriend. As a consequence, he really wanted to have a kid, and I really did not. It was the deal breaker that killed our relationship. I set him free, and now he has a toddler, and he's moving mountains for a family. Weeds and Wildflowers says, as someone who had 6 years wasted by a partner before they finally admitted to me that they didn't want to have a kid, when I very much do, thank you for being a good and strong person and doing the hard thing so you can both find what you need. r/datingoverthirty. Big thing, Roach 9201 says. Need some help getting over a strong emotional connection. A few months ago I 37 female experienced a whirlwind romance that left me with a lot of grief. I have been single for about 6 years due to a combination of taking an intentional break after a boyfriend cheated/treated me poorly, pandemic, moving states a few times, and not finding someone I felt a genuine connection with. I met a man 43 male through mutual friends and we just clicked. This is unheard of for me, but I wrote in my journal the day I met him that I thought I might have met the love of my life. I hadn't felt so strongly for someone in over a decade, and he seemed to have very strong feelings for me too. We were just friends at the time, but it was an emotional connection that felt cosmic. After just few weeks of officially seeing each other, he admitted, without any prompt from me, that he thought I might be his person. I admitted I felt similarly. But we agreed we still were early, and that time would tell. Well, unfortunately I think everyone knows where this ended up. It wasn't the love story we'd both hoped for. After a few weeks of telling me he wanted a relationship, he decided to break it off. I was feeling the same way at the time as it became pretty clear to both of us that he needed to take care of his mental health and couldn't prioritize a relationship. There were a few other issues but it wasn't anything we couldn't have worked through. Normally, I have solid emotional boundaries, especially when you're first getting to know someone. I'm reasonable, and I like to ease into getting to know people. But with him, I felt so safe that I completely let my guard down. He and I also have many close friends in common who were so excited to hear we were dating, and I think their reassurance caused me to create a false narrative of our compatibility. I saw him again a few weeks after we broke it off, and I thought I was going to be able to move on and build a friendship with him, but seeing him just brought all the feelings back, and I ended up crying for a long time and asking him to reconsider dating. He was pretty stoic about the whole thing and held firm that he wasn't emotionally available. I believe him and respect his decision, but it doesn't make it hurt any less. I said it'd take space and maybe we could reconnect as friends later down the line. I know it isn't right, I know it's not going to happen, and I know we weren't being fair to each other by putting pressure on a new romance in the first place. We had a mutual friend in town this weekend and were around each other for the first time since that conversation. Now I've been nearly in tears all day, feeling devastated that it's likely never going to happen, and like I missed my chance at the deepest connection I've felt in a long time. I know I need to move on, but my heart is struggling. Has anyone dealt with this, or have advice on how to move past this grief? Loudwitch says, going through something similar and it's awful. He broke up with me cause of my opening issues. He was pushing, and I felt trapped, and I responded with shutting down even more. He became instantly cold and just left. I feel so sorry now and it hurt like hell. Wish I could tell you something other than this but I can't. I have issue with functioning at work cause of this right now. I got literally sick, throwing up and feel beaten up. Hope this intensity won't last that long. SHM4Y says, I know it sucks right now, but I was in your shoes before too. Even though we only knew each other for 6 months and were dating exclusively for 4, it took me about a year to fully get over it and I'm being honest, I still think about it sometimes but more from a perspective of what I could have done differently / what signs and boundaries I need to enforce better. Time truly does heal all wounds, but you need to give yourself the space and kindness to grieve and be sad in that process. Sending you good vibes and strength to get through this. Electrical Pipe 6688 says, yes, I lost the person I consider to be the greatest emotional connection I will ever have 3 years ago. It is very likely he and I will never see or speak to each other again despite mutual friends and running in similar work circles. It is hard to think of exactly how well we connected. I look for traces of him in new people now, and it's still sad. I still think of him sometimes. But I also am aware that it is easy to hold someone on a pedestal when you never got into the minutiae of an actual relationship with them. It is quite possible he and I wouldn't have worked out, even if we had our chance. You will have new emotional connections and they won't be the same, but that might be a good thing. Radiostar 1899 says, pull that energy into yourself. That's the only way. You do not deserve that behavior from anyone, and it's a waste of your life to prop up a mentally unwell person. Believe me, I did it for too long. Katsgatanosableed says, the good news is the way to heal is to simply give it time and continue your life as before, not having him in your life. The bad news is it'll take a while and will feel awfully bad for a time. That's the way it goes with heartbreaks. It feels terrible for the duration of the healing, but eventually you will look back on it and it just seems like a faded memory and you're not sure why you were so upset over a guy like him. Sending you strength to keep moving and living your life despite the pain you are in. It sucks now, but it absolutely will get better. That's all for this video. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe.